Hey, everybody, welcome back to Great Mondays Radio. Uh, one of the, I think, biggest gaps that a lot of organizations have is that they do not tend to their employer brand. And being somebody that has come from the world of brand, I have acutely aware of when that's a big gap. And so today, with us on the program is employer brand expert James Ellis. We're going to talk about what's happening in the space of employer brand, how it's evolving, and how you might be able to better attend to your employer brand to get the right people to start showing up. James Ellis, he is the chief brander of Employer Brand Labs, Employer Brand Labs. I did not do my warm ups, my lips warm up, and is the foremost authority in employer branding for mid-size businesses. James Ellis, welcome to Great Mondays Radio.
Thanks for having me. Of course, by starting this conversation as employer brand, you lost half of your audience from the jump. So that may have been a miscalculation on your
I
part, but
think
we'll see what we can do to,
no.
serve the ones who stuck around.
You know what? I imagine that people know exactly what they're getting into if they're tapping into this episode. We've got some folks that are just as nerdy about brand and culture as perhaps you or I are. So, James, you have staked your career on this concept of employer brand, one that too many people are not, too many leaders are not really paying attention to. Why would you do such a thing?
It's a foolish choice. There's no question. My customers don't know that I exist. My customers don't know that they want this sort of thing. The industry has done a great job confusing people as to what employer branding was or is, what the expectations should be. And honestly, for the last 10, 15 years, the industry has been put in this weird box of make pretty pictures, generate platitudes, shut up. Like that's
Mhm.
been the entirety of the trending around employer brand. So it's pretty career sites and Instagram photos and here, make a quick TikTok where you're pointing at stuff and I will overlay some interesting text on top of it or something.
Mm.
Or, hey, this job posting has 17,000 bullets. Can you make tighten it down to about 16,000, please? Like that has really been the box we've been put in. And it's unfortunate because employer brand is one of those things where it generates value to the company because it attracts better people. It supports and is supported by the culture. It is there to attract the people who are the right fits, not the people who are looking for the most amount of money necessarily. And when they show up, they're aligned to the larger ideas of what the company is trying to do. So, from a business standpoint, which is a phrase that is so rarely used in my industry, from a business standpoint, employer brand is there to grow companies. It's just there to do it through its people rather than through optimizing a supply chain or inventing new products. Though, frankly, the people who are inventing new products and optimizing the supply chain, where do you think they came from? Talent acquisition, employer brand. So,
Hmm.
it's a
Hmm.
complicated, messy gumbo.
Hmm. Hmm. Does it adhere? Well, okay, let's hear your definition of an employer brand. We're gonna go a little bit further than just the basics, but let's start there. What's your
Sure.
definition of employer brand, and does it adhere to the same physics and rules as brand writ large?
Very, very close. So I think of employer brand more in a differentiated value mantra rather than how do you put lipstick on the pig? It's about talking about why this particular bacon is delicious. It's about understanding what's really going on in the company, what part of it is particularly interesting or valuable that you can't get other places, communicating that value to the people who want that value and connecting the dots. Now, you and I both know that for a branding marketing, all these terms have a myriad of definitions. And I think what's interesting about employer brand, it is the one kind of branding and marketing that breaks one of the cardinal rules of marketing. And that is ultimately marketing and branding live and worship at the church of more. They want more leads, they want more eyeballs, they want more impressions, they want more sales, they want more share of wallet, share of voice, share of shelf, more, 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 more. And that is their job. In employer branding, it is the one kind of employer branding where I don't want more, I want better. In fact, if you only get two people who apply for that job, but they're both killers and they're both perfect and they're both going to drive a lot of value, that's a win.
Mm.
Getting 100, getting 1,000 applicants is a loss, is a loser. And so it's a place where quality beats quantity, right? The joke, I always tell is in marketing and in branding, every dollar is a good dollar. But in employer branding, every candidate is not a good candidate. Every candidate is not a good fit. And you only can put one person in a given role. Your job is not to get 4,000 applicants. Your job is to pick the best possible person and get them to show up and get them to do their best work. So it is 99.9% the same as branding with that one critical difference, which is kind of like saying all physics is the same, but we're going to do it on the moon. It's like just
Hmm.
one little difference. The gravity changes, and you get
Hmm.
to refactor and rethink all the fundamentals from there.
So, speaking of 4,000 applicants, I have been doing a little research and have discovered some disconcerting data that says that the number of resumes that recruiters and hiring managers have gotten have tripled since
Mhm.
2021, maybe,
Yeah.
if I remember my data correctly. And it is the market is particularly shitty now on both the candidate and the
Yes.
recruiter side.
Yes.
How are you seeing your clients handle that, and how is your job changing because of, well, AI is making it real easy to apply to every job possible, and
Hmm.
which is the antithesis of what you're describing, which
Hmm.
which is I can apply. It's like just a mismatch menagerie, not in a good way.
Yeah, the cost to apply to a job is nil, and now we have AI tools that make it incredibly efficient to apply to 1,000 companies with the click of a button. So why wouldn't you? You'd be crazy as a job seeker. You'd be crazy not to do it. Which is why companies have had to, play the AI arms race by saying, okay, we're going to use AI. If you're going to use AI to apply and generate resumes, we're going to use AI to stack rank our candidates so that we're only looking at the top X% of those candidates to figure out who is likely a good fit and ignore the
Hmm.
bulk. And it's an arms
Hmm.
race where everybody kind of loses. But to be fair, recruiting and talent acquisition is a space where there are no fans of the current model, the current process of things. The candidates don't like it, the recruiters don't like it, the hiring managers don't like it, the leaders don't like it. No one actually likes this model, but we've been doing it for 60, 70 years and we don't know what else is different. And so employer branding is kind of this, done well, properly. It's a lever that helps us say, okay, it's not about sticking a butt in a seat. It's not about filling a role. It's not about closing a requisition. It's not about getting mass applicants. It's about saying, look, the way we grow our business is through our people. Simple as that. So the best way to grow a business is to get better people, which means different skills, new skills, different experiences. Maybe they're coming from competitors. Maybe they're bringing in just all sorts of different reasons why a candidate brings more value to the table.
Yeah.
And so employer brand is there to say, look, we are not a fit for everyone, right? If you've got 10, 15, 20 years of looking good and saying, here's our glossy career site, and here's some pretty pictures, and here's our Instagram and TikTok saying, we're great, we're really happy, and here's 4,000 awards, and here's our pretty pictures and shiny, happy faces on the career site. What you're doing is you're building around a model that says, if we look good, enough people will show up. And this is where that difference between employer branding and non-employer branding, the rest of branding, differs. Because if you just look good and you're selling software or cars or shoes, looking good gets the people in the door and they can make a decision. In recruiting, looking good is hard because it means everybody looks the same, right? Every career site has pretty pictures. Every job, ChatGPT has made every job posting sound very much identical. You want to see a day in the life video? You got 12 trillion on YouTube to look at. They all sound the same. They all talk about the same stuff. How is a candidate supposed to choose? And if you understand that an employer brand built on differentiated value is really there to force a choice, to make it easy to say, I'm interested in this company and this job, or yeah, that's not my fit. That's not for me. That's not what I want. That's creating and supporting and facilitating choice. So employer branding is here to tell a more complete story of not just how to look good, but also here are the downsides. This is the trade-off you make by working here. Now, that's something in recruiting, and actually for most of branding, we don't talk about, right? You're selling a car, you talk about how fast it goes. You don't talk about the fuel efficiency because, well, if it's going fast, it's probably not being very efficient with fuel. But everything is a trade-off. And so rather than say, look at all the pretty things we have, let's look at the complete picture because when you're here 8, 10, 12 hours a day, you're going to see both sides. This is not buying a candy bar. This is not an instinctual choice. This is not what's going to make me happy for the next 30 seconds. This is the next 3, 4, 10 years of my life. So let's tell a more complete story so the right people show up. And so the job of an employer brand is to say, look, this isn't for everybody. This job is hard because of X. This job is hard because of Y. But some people, when you understand that you offer something and something so different and so something unusual, something they can't find other places, they go, okay, hold on, I understand my choices here. All jobs are not the same. Some jobs offer status. Some jobs offer autonomy. Some jobs offer collaboration. Some jobs offer cash. Some jobs offer there's a number of things that drive and motivate people to make these choices. Culture is a huge part of that. What is the culture? What is the day-to-day working experience? Can I speak truth to power? How do I resolve differences with people across, the aisles and other functions because we're working and collaborating together? What is the activity being done? What are we generating together? What is the North Star we're all sailing towards?
Yeah.
And if you understand the thing that you offer that's different, and then can use the negatives to prove that difference because credibility is a whole separate conversation here we could get into. But to say, hey, for example, and I'm talking very abstractly, so I want to kind of bring it down to brass tacks here. Let's say you offer autonomy. You want your people to be the experts in what they do, and you're hiring them because they are the experts and they're going to functionally tell you what to do, what the world should be, what the rules really are, what the guidelines should be. And so you hire those people. Well, they're going to walk in and realize, there's no structure because no one's done that work yet. No one's built the rules. No one's built the guidelines. No one's built the processes yet because that's on you. Because they're offering autonomy. They want you to design this stuff. They want you to tell them what to do. So is it a job where it's, hey, you're going to get autonomy and you get to make your choices? Or is it a place where it's chaotic and messy and sloppy and you don't necessarily know what's going on? Well, it's both because you can't have one without the other. But if we only talk about one side, it sounds like you're talking about, puppies and daisies and everything's fun and everything's wonderful. But if
Okay.
you leverage the downside, you can start to say, look, when we talk about those positives, it's not just a spin job. Look, the downsides, which are natural to it, are occurring, creating credibility, making this job more real, you understand what's really on offer.
Well, so I agree with that concept. I think it makes it very clear you want high differentiation and you want authenticity. I
Yes.
have rarely run
Mhm.
into a leader who says, please highlight how much we do not have our process down. Please
Yes.
highlight
Yes.
how this is not right for some people because they are in the mindset of I want as many people as possible.
Yes. Yes.
You how do you because you can't just it isn't just putting a page together, right? It's easier
Mhm.
if you just say, tell me what you see. What do you want me to tell people? And I'll put the
Yep.
page up. But you're saying, no,
Exactly.
no, no. I want what are the warts? Where are the warts? And how do you convince leaders that that's the right thing or that it's okay to do, right? Like you've just given
Yeah.
us your okay, aside beyond the keynote, beyond the TEDx talk, right? That you just gave us, right? I'm a believer. I came in a believer, but it is like you want me to stand up here in front of in my underwear in front of God and everyone and
The
say,
dirty laundry.
yeah, like that is a really scary proposition. How do you get that? How do you get leaders to be okay with that?
Yeah, it takes cuts. There's no question. But the easiest way to create that transition, to get them to see that point of view, is to say, guess what? People are already talking trash about you as it is. You know Glassdoor, you know Comparably, you know these review sites, you know the social media. People are already out there saying whatever they're going to say. And a lot of this sense of we got to things is a sense that we control the game, we control the field, and you don't. You so don't. The world has changed. Have you heard of the internet? Everybody's talking whatever they want to say about you. There is no such thing as control anymore. So If you want them to understand the value of embracing your warts, and not, you're right, it is not about dirty laundry. It's not about highlighting and saying, look how dirty our laundry is. It's about saying, here, let's extend that autonomy, kind of example out a little further because the company that's offering all this autonomy, you go to their Glassdoor page and it is this place is chaotic. The inmates are running an asylum. This place is a nightmare. It's a dumpster fire. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know who my boss was, and it sounds like a hellacious place to work. What you shouldn't do is say, no, you're wrong. No, it's not. It's great. Because that doesn't work, because that's going to
Yeah.
convince no one.
Yeah.
However, if you understand that those warts are going to exist and be out there for all to see, and they are, what you do is you use that brand sense to reframe what they're saying. Can I turn a 1-star review into a 5-star? No. But to that person who says this place is, it's, inmates running the asylum, I can say, look, this is a company where we offer maximum autonomy to all of our employees because you are the experts and we want you to tell us what to do rather than tell you how to spend your time. Not everybody likes that, and we understand, and we hope you're very happy at the company you find for that. Now, I didn't have to convince anybody that let's go put a big old YouTube site about how much we suck. What I did was saying, look, there's negatives out there. Let's frame it as the natural shadow from light,
Yeah.
right? Every strength has a weakness. This is the weakness. And people who value autonomy, this is not a shock. Oh, it's chaotic because it's autonomous? Of course it is. Of course it is. Oh, you care about collaborative thinking? I bet you move a little slower. No shock. Of course that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is using these negatives to prove the positives. Hey, if we weren't offering autonomy, you wouldn't see these negative reviews. And this is a natural extension. And again, since we're not trying to get everybody and their dog to apply for a job and want to work there, we're trying to get the target audience who want autonomy in this example. I'm okay with a 3.8 4-star rating on Glassdoor if it's not a 4.5. Anything above a 4.5 is a cult. Let's just be fair. But if I don't care about them not hitting super high ratings because I'm not here to appeal to everybody. I'm here to appeal to people who want autonomy because the people who want autonomy, one, they're probably starved for it. They're excited for it. They're jonesing for it. And if we can offer it, they're willing to understand there are drawbacks and trade-offs with everything you do, and they'll embrace that.
Yeah. So your expertise is in mid-sized businesses, 200 to 2,000 employees.
Mhm.
Uh, in your framework, you're supposing that this we provide autonomy and it's chaos here was a deliberate choice. And sometimes maybe it is, but my guess is you have to help them, help those companies understand how they work in the first place. Because I
Yes.
have seen more than my fair share of mid-sized businesses who are like, what the hell is going on here? It used to be like one thing, now it's another, and I don't even, how do I, it's, are you going in and saying, listen, there is something that's happening here, but we need to point and name it. That can be a little vulnerable as well. I mean, am I assuming that that's correct? That most of the time you're going in and going, you have to define in the first place what that value, how they work, or do they tell you?
Yes, yes and no. But what I do is I start by understand. So if it's based on differentiated value, you can't understand what's different until you understand the norm, right? If you say your dog is spotted and it's the only spotted dog and you don't look around at other dogs, you don't know if yours is the only spotted dog. So you start by understanding who are your competitive set? Who are you hiring against and competing with?
Hmm.
Now, let's say you're a law firm. You're a law firm, and that means, well, how do you promote your law firm jobs? Well, everybody puts on a $2,000 suit and they stand very seriously in front of a wall of books, and that's what everybody does, and that's fine because that's what everybody thinks a lawyer should be. But if everybody's doing that, what's the value of you doing it too? You got to be more. You got to be a more expensive suit, nicer watch, more books, more serious. How do you fight that fight? But if instead you say, what is one thing that's interesting and different about this company? It doesn't have to be a radical shift. You don't have to say we do everything in a different language or something. I don't know. You could simply say this is a law firm that lets dogs into the office. Now, is that a dumb differentiator? Yes. But what does dogs tell you? What do people who like dogs, what do we think about people who like dogs? They're probably a little
Mhm.
friendlier. They're probably a little nicer. And if you're letting dogs in the office, I bet you're not wearing your $3,000 suits to the office because you're going to get hair on it. And oh, wow, this is a friendly place. This is a more human law firm. And suddenly, this tiny little difference, which let's be fair, 99 times out of 100, the company itself does not realize is interesting and different about it. They just go, oh, it's just a thing we do. My job is to say, this is what everybody else does. This is what you do that's different. Let's build here.
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily about saying, I'm going to show you your dirty laundry or I'm going to, pull back the curtain to reveal something you didn't like about yourself. And I always joke to my clients, like, when I reveal your brand, if that's the right word, you're not going to be shocked. In fact, you're not going to be surprised at all. You're going to kind of go, duh. But my job is to provide the clarity and focus to say, of the 100 things that are nice about your company that you could say, that every recruiter could say at the drop of a hat, talk about this one, talk about those two, and exclusively talk about that. And be known for those things.
Yeah.
Because it's not a game of defining a job in a radically different way that everybody gets paid in different currencies. And you have, like, you don't have to reinvent everything. You simply have to say, look, if you're looking for a law firm job and you want a friendly company, it starts with us. And you've won the game. It doesn't have to be radically different. I was working with a company and they kept talking about how, and this is always my biggest problem, is they talk about, well, we like each other. We just have great people. And I'm like, oh God, don't roll your eyes in front of the camera. They'll see it. Oh gosh, don't do that. Even though there's nothing to do with that. Every company says they have great people, that they like
Or
working
great
side by side with
service,
those people.
right? Like
Yeah,
great
it's the
service
same
and
old, same
whatever.
old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. What does that mean? I was talking to leaders for 45 minutes until someone let slip. Yeah, I got sick last month and they sent DoorDash dinner to my house. I'm sorry, what? Can you say that again? Like they told me the story. I'm like, how are you burying this lead? That's glorious. That's proof that when you say you care about your people, you care. You're sending chicken soup to people's houses for dinner when they're sick. Because I don't know any other company that does that. But the company itself had no idea that that was weird. That was just how we did things. And
Yeah.
so my job is very often to come in with fresh eyes to say, this is the standard. This is what your competitors are doing. I'm looking at you. I'm going to find the thing that's interesting, pluck it out, and let's build on that.
Do you find in right now, I can confidently say we are in a employer's market, which is to say there are more
Fair.
employees than employers. And I have found that organizations are like organisms, and not that they don't want to attract the right kind of people, but if they don't have to spend the energy, the calories to actually
Mhm.
attract people, they're not going to spend that money, and they're going to say, hey, our pipeline's great, just use AI, and you don't, we don't need to work on this. And my question isn't whether that's true or not, although you can poke holes in it. My question is whether you're experiencing that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's a fundamental miscalculation on the value of talent in this country, in this world, in this time period, whatever you want to call it.
More is
Because
more.
recruiting hit, look, and I hate to do it because as a brander, it seems like it's like an old saw, but the Birkin bag rather, like the Birkin bag is not better than a $100 bag I can buy anywhere. It's that we associate, my camera just did a thing. We just associate with this idea with that's valuable to someone. That the value of saying I have a Birkin bag tells a story to the world that they want, and they are willing
Right.
to pay for that story.
It's got expressive value.
So yeah, so why isn't talent the same way? Why can't we understand that the value that talent brings is not how do we lower the cost to make it cheaper to bring them in and get the easiest hire, which is kind of how talent acquisition is structured. Job boards
Yep.
and filters and all this stuff is designed about, well, talent's all the same. We just have to get the cheapest stuff. Instead to say, look, Johnny Ives changed Apple. Did Johnny Ives show up because of ZipRecruiter? No. Johnny Ives knew exactly what Johnny Ives was getting into when Johnny Ives showed up to Apple, when the conversation started. And if you want a company filled with people who do as they're told, that's great. They're only going to do as they're told, but you're going to find them all on job boards and Indeed and ZipRecruiter. If you want to hire people who are going to actively grow the business, who exceed your expectations, who bring in far more perspectives and skills than anything you can consider today or that you can afford to pay, you can't do it that way. You have to say, what is the value of this talent to my company? And then conversely, what is the effort worth putting out to attain that value? So if you're looking to hire, and it's not necessarily every role, your entry level people, maybe you can say, okay, we're just going to run through job boards. That's fine. But I question that. That's a separate conversation. But your next sales leader, do you want just anybody who says, yeah, I did some sales, just has a couple stories to tell? Or do you want the sales leader who aligns to your culture, who aligns to your values, who is itching to do amazing things at your company, not because it's the next job, but because they believe in what you do, or
Yeah.
because the way they work aligns with how you do work? And understand, and you're talking to a room full of culture people, you understand that the value of alignment, where everybody is pointing in the same direction, singing the same, hymnal, but their own individual parts, that is how you create magic. That is how you create exponential growth. It is not through the one idea somebody had, but everybody coming together and getting behind that idea to make it happen. So truly, the value of what we do is to say, or the way we create that value is to convince the business to understand, look, if you want to hire the people who grow your business, you can't be hiring the exact same way everybody else is hiring. You have to tell your own unique story. You have to have your own individual value that people can't find everybody else. And even if it is you let dogs in the office at a law firm, there is a beginning to that story, and that is the hook that gets people interested, leaning in and wanting to know more, and then you tell a more complete story.
So one of my hypotheses about the current job market is that, recruiters aren't enjoying this any more than
No.
applicants. And one of the early trends, I've got just a few data points, but there are more and more organizations. Here's my pitch.
Hmm.
There are more and more organizations that are assigning people to go find the candidate. So instead of putting a big billboard out front and waiting for people to walk in, they're going to go out onto the street and look for people. What are the tools or methods or ways that these you might suggest? Because I feel like this approach aligns perfectly with what you've been talking about. So, um, how would you advise your clients to go about finding people, and
Yeah.
how would you advise the people to put up their sign so that people can find them?
Exactly. So I come from a B2B world, Les Binet. It's the idea of in any given market, 5% of people are ready to buy. They're in market. So if you're selling transmissions or SaaS solutions, whatever, 5% of the people who might one day buy, only 5% are ready to buy. Those are people who are in market. Now in talent, that is 100% of a recruiter's focus. These are people on job boards. These are people with resumes in hand who are applying for jobs, who are looking at career sites. That has been the primary focus of all their time and energy.
They put
Employer
up
brand
there
is about saying,
on LinkedIn. They put up there ready to hire or open to work,
yes,
right?
open to work, but that's on both sides, right? The candidate saying that, and the recruiter is only looking at those people. They're not
That's right.
looking to start long relationships. They're looking to close that deal. They're assuming candidates like that are on the 2 yard line. They just want to get them over the end zone, right?
Yeah.
It's the same way when I'm ready to buy something. A coupon is going to be super useful. But if I'm not ready to buy a thing, a coupon is not useful. It's
I
all
don't
about
even
direct
I
marketing,
don't even
performance
see it,
marketing.
right? Like I don't even see the
Exactly,
coupon, right?
exactly. But what we're talking about here is the 95% of talent who is out of market, who is not looking for a job. They may not even have a resume ready to go. They're not going to your career site. They're not looking at your YouTube videos. God forbid they would look at a job posting, because why on earth would anyone not looking for a job want to look
It
at one of
sucks
those?
even if you're looking
They're
for a job.
horrible. They're horrible. Oh, they're brutal. They're painful. They're ugly. That is where employer brand focuses, is to say, look, let's talk to this larger audience, because first off, this 5%, every recruiter in the world is focused here, which is why, and this is inside knowledge, every 20 minutes, it seems like Indeed prices go up and LinkedIn's prices go up and every job board's prices go up because, well, there's a fixed amount of capacity and more demand for it. So guess what happens?
You'd be
But
stupid
over
not to
here,
increase your price.
exactly. But out
Yeah.
here in this wide blue ocean where recruiters are generally less interested in treading, there's a whole conversation to be had. The problem is they are not in market, which means they're not ready to get hired today. And recruiters have been put in this box where they're saying, close the rec today, get it as close as fast as possible. Their primary metric is always time to fill, which is a horrible metric, but that's a separate
I'm gonna
conversation.
incentivize you. The way that you get paid is or rewarded
Bonus or
is
whatever. Yeah,
yeah, is you got to
exactly.
close. And so those
But
are the people.
you got to look at that blue ocean though. You got to look at the other 95, which means if you're going to talk to them, you got to say something worth listening to, engaging with, reacting to, and saying, I have a job is not the way you do it. What you say is, if for people who are interested in, going back to the law firm again. Hey, we allow dogs in the office. Now, is that something that's going to make me stop and read your blog for 2 hours? No. But now I've associated your company with the kind of company that was super friendly and has dogs. And oh, by the way, you have a dog in your logo and a dog on your career site. And oh, that video that's a day in the life is actually taken from a dog's point of view. It's super cute. It's super funny. And because it's cute and funny, and it's not, do you want a job? Do you want a job? Do you want a job? I might remember it. I might engage with it. I might share it to someone who is looking for a job. And that is the space where employer branding is trying to do its best work and trying to pull recruiters from saying, look, why spend money on ads targeting people who have already looked at your job? They've already made the decision, but companies spend money on those ads all day long. Why not pull those resources about do demand generation and audience generation for what it is that you offer? But you can't do that when you sound and look like everybody else. And that is the kind of the crux of all this. If you're not willing to understand how you're different, talking to the 95% about we are great, we have a great culture, look at our awards, we're a wonderful company, everybody's lovely, means nothing to them. It's like trying to sell me shampoo, or you understand. Um, it's not
James,
useful information.
if you're not watching on YouTube, James has zero less hair than I do.
I am quite aerodynamic. Thank you for asking. It's useless information. And that's the thing, is that recruiters have been trained to focus on the people ready to apply today, and they're going to get as many people who want to apply. And I'm trying to say the party's over here in the 95. People are more interested. They're busy doing great work. They're busy doing interesting work, and they would happily engage in a conversation if you had something worth talking about.
Mm. Yeah, and here I'm seeing drawing a strong parallel to external brand, which is it is scary to do something different
Mhm.
because you do
Yeah.
not, the fear is you're going to be laughed at. The fear is you're going to do something stupid. You're going to be seen as stupid.
Jaguar.
What do you mean by that?
Everybody knows Jaguar. Come on, last year was Jaguar put out this crazy concept commercial and this idea and rebranding, and everybody hated it until a couple of smart people said, "This is not here to get you to buy a car. This commercial, they're not even making any cars for like a year. They're literally shutting down the factories for a year to retool everything." What this was a flag they put in the sand to say, we are trying something different. And let's be fair, Jaguar is not really competing with Toyota. No one's going, do I want a Corolla or do I want a Jaguar E-Type? There's no one's in that market to kind of say, which do I want? If you're talking about Jaguar, you're talking about high-end, expensive, luxury, fast, interesting cars. Looking like everybody else is the death knell. Being different, showing off is where it's at. And so it's scary to stand out there all alone and saying, I'm going to be different. But without that risk, there is no reward. Otherwise, you're just incremental growth and playing, keeping up with the Joneses for the rest of your life. And that's no way to live.
Yeah, right. That's no way to live. So my second question, and this is a little outside, but I feel like some of your insight and experience applies to that, which is how, aside from putting on open to work, and by the way, I wouldn't recommend doing that, on your LinkedIn thing, how do you make yourself, um, someone who this searcher will find? And
Yeah.
how do you we've been talking all along, we haven't used the term, but like the match of
Mhm.
finding the right place for you, which I think is such an underserved concept It's not
Yes,
the it's not the best people. Who the fuck is the best people? Like, what does that mean? The best people? Like, I don't,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
There's no best company. Why should there be best people?
Okay. So how, in your experience, is
Mhm,
there, and this is from completely curious, right? Like I'm sort of just, out over my skis trying to figure out this job market.
mhm.
How might you advise someone to be, uh, a target-rich environment for ideal, potential employers?
Well, the same thinking and the same logic that applies to companies applies to people. How are you different? I mean, I'm on Reddit looking at recruiter hell and all the other recruiting and rate my resume threads and Reddits all the time, just like everybody else is. And all I see is resumes that look and sound like everybody else's resumes. Same page, same 2 pages, same black, Times New Roman font on a same white piece of paper, same structure, same bullets, same everything. And these are people who do not understand that even if you're talking about the very end zone, you're talking about the recruiters looking at a pile of resumes, they're not looking for a qualified candidate. It's easy to find a qualified candidate. Hell, their ATS is littered with qualified. They may have 200, 300 qualified candidates. Well, if that's the case, why you? And that is the game, right? And that's just on one side of the table. And it's as simple as saying, look, if I'm talking about a sales leader, I'm talking about a project manager, I'm talking about whatever, a software developer, why you over 200 people who are also qualified? And it might be because you had a weird job in the past. It might be because you have a certain skill that no one else has, or that you have a particular fascination with some aspect of the job that most people kind of, cast aside or ignore. You have to show how you're different because the truth is the hiring manager is trying to make a choice just like you're trying to make a choice. And you're trying to make it easy for them to choose you over so many candidates. Now, the thing is, if you look at how to get a job books and lists of power words, I love the power words. Those are my favorite because it's as if I'm the only person who bought that book and saw the magic list of power words. And I'm going to sprinkle the power words through my resume like every other person isn't doing the exact same thing.
Hmm.
What we've trained candidates to do and sound the same. Pop open Word, open up a resume template, fill it out the way Microsoft wants you to do it. Okay, why you defer to them, I'm not sure, but okay. You're just saying, I want to be a cog. And there was a time in which being qualified was enough to get you the interview. Those times are over. You have to be focused on something. You have to be different about something. If you're talking before the application, you have to be known for something. It's SEO all over again. You have to be known. If someone says, I'm looking for a project manager who specializes in large events in Utah, how many search results am I going to get? Couple hundred. Okay, who can do large events in Utah, and I just have a friend of mine in Utah, that's why it's top of mind, who are focused on business conferences in Utah. Okay, now we've pared it down. Okay, who specializes in SaaS business conferences in Utah? What's there, 4 people? Guess what? You're in a better shot to get that job because you are so focused on this one thing that someone wants than you are to say, I'm just another event manager who happens to be in Utah, one of 1,000. And
Mm.
so if you understand and are kind of in this, I hate using the word, but it's true. If you're kind of famous for a thing, that puts you at a far more advantageous position than being one of the many,
Yeah,
right?
micro
That you,
famous. You want to
yeah,
be micro famous in the project manager for conferences in Utah for B2B SaaS, right? Like
exactly. In
that's
the same
that's
way
the
that,
world you want to be famous in.
yeah, are there any other employer branders who focus on small, mid-sized businesses? I don't believe there are. I think every other employer brander focuses on big companies. So am I famous? In a way, but it's a fame of one. And that's fine. And that's kind of this is the space I live. And I want to be in a position where if you are in this space and you're in this position, you are looking for someone, I'm the only person to call.
Yeah,
How is that not a huge win for me? And
yeah.
it's not just because I'm running a business. As a candidate, it's the same mentality. If you are the person who invented a Claude skill that does a certain interesting thing, talk about that on your resume. Talk about that on your blog. Make a video about it. Show
Mm.
people so that when a recruiter starts looking or a hire manager starts scraping around, where are they going to go? They're going to go to Google. They're going to go to ChatGPT. If you're not findable there, how else would they find you
Yeah,
without you being one of many?
yeah, yeah. Amazing. James Ellis is an employer brand expert and the chief brander at Employer Brand Labs. You can find him at employerbrandlabs.com. Famous in a field of one. Thank you, James, for coming on.
That's my new
Great.
LinkedIn tag now.
Yeah, exactly. Famous in my household. James Ellis, thank you for coming on Great Mondays Radio.
Thanks, Josh.